You probably woke up this morning because of an alarm clock. Maybe it was your phone. Maybe it was a smartwatch vibrating on your wrist. Maybe it was that annoying alarm sound you've heard so many times that your brain starts dreading it before you even open your eyes. But here's something strange. For almost all of human history, none of those things existed. No smartphones, no alarm clocks, no watches, no calendars hanging on walls, no school bells, no morning notifications. Nothing. And yet somehow, ancient humans still woke up at the right time. They woke up early enough to hunt, early enough to gather food, early enough to travel, early enough to avoid danger, and most importantly, early enough to survive. So how did they do it? How did ancient humans know when to wake up if nobody was counting the hours? At first, this sounds like a simple question. But once scientists began studying sleep, evolution, and hunter-gatherer societies, they discovered something fascinating. The answer isn't hidden in some forgotten technology. It's hidden inside your own body, and understanding it may explain why millions of people today struggle with sleep in ways our ancestors probably never did. To understand how ancient humans woke up without clocks, we first need to understand why modern humans often can't. Think about your typical morning. How many people would actually wake up at the exact right time if alarms suddenly disappeared tomorrow? Not many. Most people today rely on alarms because modern life often forces us to follow schedules that don't match our natural biology. A teenager might need to wake up before sunrise for school. A nurse might work overnight shifts. An office worker may spend hours staring at bright screens before bed and then be expected to wake up at 6 in the morning. In many cases, we're not waking up because our bodies are ready. We're waking up because society demands it. Scientists call this social jet lag. It's the mismatch between your body's natural clock and the schedule imposed by modern life. And that's where the story begins. Because humans evolved for hundreds of thousands of years before alarm clocks ever existed. Our ancestors couldn't depend on technology. They depended on something else, something built directly into the human brain. Deep inside your brain is a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The name sounds complicated, but its job is surprisingly simple. It's your body's master clock. This tiny cluster of cells helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythms are roughly 24-hour biological cycles that influence when you feel sleepy, when you feel alert, when your hormones change, and even when your body temperature rises and falls. Every day your brain is constantly tracking time, not by reading numbers, but by reading light. When sunlight enters your eyes, special cells in the retina detect it and send signals directly to the brain. Those signals tell your body that morning has arrived. As light increases, melatonin production begins to decrease. Melatonin is often called the sleep hormone because it helps regulate feelings of sleepiness. As melatonin drops, your body gradually shifts into wakefulness. You don't consciously notice it happening, but it happens every single day. In fact, your body starts preparing to wake up before you're fully awake. Cortisol levels begin rising in the early morning. Body temperature starts increasing. Brain activity changes. It's as if your body is quietly getting everything ready before the day begins. For ancient humans, this system was incredibly important because unlike us, they lived almost entirely according to natural light. There were no streetlights illuminating the night, no glowing televisions, no phones lighting up faces at midnight. For most of human history, the brightest thing people saw after sunset was a campfire. And that made a huge difference. But this raises an interesting question. If sunlight controlled the body's clock, what happened during winter? What happened during cloudy weather? What happened when daylight became shorter? Scientists believe ancient humans adapted remarkably well to seasonal changes. Evidence suggests that sleep patterns likely shifted throughout the year. During winter, longer nights may have encouraged longer periods of rest. During summer, extended daylight probably pushed activity later into the evening. Instead of forcing the same schedule every day of the year, ancient humans likely adjusted naturally as conditions changed. In other words, their sleep schedules were flexible. Our modern schedules usually aren't. And that's where things get really interesting. Because some of the best clues about prehistoric sleep don't come from archaeology. They come from living people. Today, there are still hunter-gatherer groups whose lifestyles resemble some aspects of how humans lived before agriculture. Scientists have studied groups such as the Hadza in Tanzania, the San people of southern Africa, and several indigenous communities in South America. These groups aren't living fossils, and researchers are careful not to treat them as exact replicas of prehistoric humans. But studying them can provide valuable insights. One surprising discovery is that they generally don't use alarm clocks, yet they still wake up consistently. Even more surprising, they don't necessarily sleep dramatically longer than people in industrialized societies. Research published in Current Biology found that some hunter-gatherer groups averaged around 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night. That number shocked many people. Modern culture often imagines ancient humans sleeping endlessly once darkness arrived. The evidence doesn't support that idea. Instead, these groups tend to align their sleep more closely with environmental conditions. They often go to sleep several hours after sunset and wake near sunrise. Their schedules shift naturally with the seasons, and because their exposure to artificial light is minimal, their circadian rhythms remain closely connected to the natural world. But there was another factor that transformed human nights: fire. Few discoveries changed human life as much as controlled fire. Fire provided warmth, protection from predators, a way to cook food, and perhaps something even more important: extra waking hours. Before fire, darkness arrived quickly. Once the sun disappeared, there wasn't much reason to stay active. Fire extended the usable day. People could sit together, share stories, teach children, repair tools, plan future hunts. Some researchers believe these nighttime social activities may have played a major role in human development. Fire didn't just change survival, it changed culture. But unlike modern LED screens, campfires produce relatively low levels of blue light. Blue light is especially powerful at suppressing melatonin. This means campfires probably interfered with sleep far less than smartphones do today. Ancient humans could stay awake around firelight while still maintaining relatively natural sleep patterns. And then we come to one of the strangest discoveries in sleep history. Ancient humans may not have slept through the entire night. Today, many people wake up in the middle of the night and immediately assume something is wrong. But historical evidence suggests that nighttime waking may have once been completely normal. Historians studying medieval documents noticed repeated references to what people called first sleep and second sleep. People would go to bed shortly after darkness, sleep for several hours, wake up for a period of time, then return to sleep until morning. During this waking period, they might pray, talk, tend fires, or simply relax. Scientists aren't completely sure how widespread this pattern was across all cultures and periods, but evidence suggests segmented sleep may have been common before widespread artificial lighting. Interestingly, modern sleep experiments have produced similar results. When volunteers spend extended periods without artificial light, some naturally begin adopting two-part sleep patterns. This doesn't prove prehistoric humans slept exactly this way, but it does suggest our sleep may be more flexible than modern schedules allow. And that leads to another question. If ancient humans didn't have alarms, what actually woke them up? The answer is that many different environmental cues work together. Sunlight was probably the most important. As dawn approached, increasing light gradually signaled the brain that morning was coming. Temperature also played a role. Human body temperature naturally fluctuates throughout the day. Cool nighttime temperatures followed by warming morning air may have helped reinforce waking patterns. Animals likely acted as natural alarms too. Birds often begin vocalizing before sunrise. Insects change their activity levels. Predators and prey become active at predictable times. Anyone spending their life outdoors would become extremely familiar with these daily patterns. Weather mattered as well. Rainfall, wind, changes in humidity, cloud cover. Ancient humans lived immersed in their environment in ways most modern people rarely experience. They didn't need a clock because nature was constantly providing information. And here's something many people don't realize. Your brain is surprisingly good at waking up at expected times. Have you ever needed to wake up early for an important event and somehow opened your eyes a few minutes before your alarm? That's not magic. Studies suggest the brain can anticipate important wake times. Researchers have found changes in hormone levels before expected wake-ups, indicating that the body may prepare itself in advance. Ancient humans probably relied on these mechanisms far more often than we do today. Of course, prehistoric life wasn't perfect. People likely overslept sometimes. They probably struggled with sleep during stressful periods. Illness, hunger, danger, and extreme weather could all disrupt rest. Scientists don't claim ancient humans enjoyed flawless sleep. But they also weren't fighting against bright screens, shift work, 24-hour entertainment, and artificial lighting. The sleep challenges they faced were different from ours. And that may explain why modern sleep problems have become so widespread. Today, many people spend entire days indoors. Artificial lighting keeps nights bright. Phones and computers expose us to light long after sunset. Work schedules often ignore natural biological rhythms. As a result, many people experience chronic sleep disruption. The irony is that the human brain operating inside your skull today is almost identical to the brain that evolved in a world without clocks. Your circadian rhythm still expects sunlight. It still responds to darkness. It still follows biological patterns shaped over thousands of generations. Modern technology has changed far faster than human biology can adapt. So how did ancient humans wake up without clocks? The answer is that they rarely needed them. Their environment acted as their clock. The rising sun, changing temperatures, animal activity, seasonal rhythms, firelight, and the remarkable biological clock built into every human brain. Ancient humans weren't constantly checking the time. They were living inside it. And perhaps that's the most surprising lesson of all. The strange thing isn't that ancient humans woke up without alarm clocks. The strange thing is that modern humans often can't.